So another thing that basically I wanted to touch base on. I mean, I talked about Halloween during the Halloween months of like how it's up to me, as a grown adult, a grown Christian adult, whether or not I want to celebrate. But how how as a Christian that my mother's household, Halloween was very taboo and stuff like that. But another thing that could have been very taboo in my mother's household in a very conservative sense, because my mother kind of got full custody to raise me and stuff, but obviously shit happened and I ended up with the state, But another thing that really could have happened too, is that if my mom dragged me to church as much as she did and stuff like that, and I didn't end up with the state, and I didn't end up, and I didn't end up like, meeting, kind of taking a different path, and then actually, kind of getting introduced to certain musics and things through like some of her exes and things that she had because I ended up in like the system and stuff for a while. Most of up until I was like 18, I was in the system. I actually up until 23, I was in the system because when I was 18 to 23, I was in a group home here in Torrington before I actually came and actually was placed into my first apartment, which this is actually my first apartment, but um, I was actually living in a group home, like a group home with other men and women. That at the time it was actually both men and women, but now it's only men from what I hear. But that's how old and how different things were back then. That there were men and women living in the same group home. The women upstairs and the men downstairs. But um, apparently, there's a whole thing about Christianity and secular music, which usually means like rock music or the popular music you hear on the radio, because a lot of times Christianity and people who kind of are about that life of being a Christian and going to church, they don't always listen to secular music or like mainstream music. um I mean, they can. I mean, some people do, and they can. But um, like heavy rock music or heavy like metal and stuff, people usually frown against that because people think it's connected to the devil, and they think rock music has a reputation with the devil, and Um, but I've always been kind of based off of rock music and had a passion for rock music and kind of alternative music that was kind of very different and stuff like that, or singer songwriters, or kind of like even folk music that was very different compared to what people usually listen to this day and age, which is like pop and this fruity pop stuff, and all this other garbage stuff because it sounds over you know I want to say sensitized, but I'm trying to think of the word. Synthesized or something. With the synthesizers, it's over synthesized when it comes to the music and stuff, and just there's really no really music about it. There's really no art about it. It's just really kind of I don't know, poorly produced. But I mean, I always been a bit person that was always like rock music and stuff, and some of that had to do with like my childhood and growing up in the system and stuff, and going to school in like a private school, and then having like my mom's boyfriend at the time come up that was like a stepfather figure to me and introduced me to things like REM and all these other stuff, all these other bands that I still listen to this day. I mean, I still listen to REM. I mean, it's like Joseph Arthur and REM right now. I mean, I used to listen to them since high school, but now it's like as I'm getting older, I mean, I don't care for, Michael Stipe, the lead singer of REM, personally as I once did. I mean, because obviously I now it became all too personal, especially with like the beat poets and stuff. The whole situation became personal. But um Joseph Arthur I almost knew personally, and that was because I was supporting him and going to his shows and my stepfather figure and stuff, and trying to get to know him and stuff, and I almost knew him personally. I was always a fan of REM. REM kind of introduced me to Joseph Arthur and a couple other things through their music and stuff, and compilation CDs and things back then, from magazines and things. So, and that's how old I am. And I used to find out about, certain music and things through compilation CDs that you could only get through a magazine that was like rare tracks and stuff like that. Um, but, I've always been into rock music and stuff, and that's because I was kind of, introduced to it, and I've always kind of been introduced to like the rock music type of life, and listening to this band and that band. My mom never really listens to secular music; she doesn't really listen to music in general, but I know she listens to a lot of. She does listen to music. She has Christian CDs that the church has made for her and stuff, but um I think if things turned out a little differently, I probably wouldn't have been maybe introduced to the Christian. I wouldn't have been able. I wouldn't have been able. Well, I wouldn't have been introduced to the rock music that would have taken away from Christian. Like a Christian, a solid Christian lifestyle. But I think my mom really loved her ex boyfriend and stuff like that, and thought he had the best intentions for me and stuff like that one too. So. He introduced me to rock music. He introduced me to like REM and these bands that I would go on to. I still kind of listen to now. It's just I have some personal differences because I was kind of personally involved with some of my heroes or heroes of heroes that are friends of some of these people like REM and stuff like that have some issues with me. Me being an artist. So. I mean, Joseph Arthur had an art page. Joseph Arthur made an art page or an art Instagram, and I actually instantly blocked it. I didn't know he had an art Instagram. I mean, I guess you can make more than one Instagram these days and spy on people or look at people, but he had like a art gallery Instagram for his artwork and stuff, and I didn't really follow it. I just ended up blocking the page because I recently just blocked Joseph Arthur from Twitter, and I blocked him from Instagram too because I'm pretty much done. It's a lot of back and forth. Whether it's like, I think you're a great artist, I want to support you, I want to support your work and your poems and your art, but at the same time, you can care less for the man because the man and you had personal issues over a woman that was obviously one of his fans, and you were one of his fans, and all this other bullshit that basically causes him a lot of issues and stuff that he doesn't want to deal with because he feels like he's the overall celebrity and the overall god type of person, as I quote God type of person, with quotations, because he's a rock star or a public figure that obviously has over, a million or 1,000 followers or something like 12K followers or something like that. So, you can't think you're God, and then say, oh, I'm joining the freaking conservatives, and I'm about God. People say, oh, he's a Christian, he's about God, but I mean, is he really? Or because he's still a public figure, and so I understand too that being a public figure, it's very easy to feel like you're above God and stuff by being a public figure. Sometimes when you get special attention and you get all the attention and the fame and stuff, you can feel like you're almost like a god, or in a sense that are worthy of like being God. And really, you're just human. You're just human with a lot of blessings and stuff. But people tend to forget that sometimes when they elevate upward and forward. Um, I'm always going to be humble. I'm always going to be humble. I'm always going to be honest about my situation. And honestly, I don't care if I'm famous or not famous. There's a joke about saying goodbye to Hollywood going on right now, but which is kind of a joke, but kind of true at the same time because obviously they're REM and certain people that I was almost interconnected with, and almost my personal connections to Joe Arthur and stuff too that kind of went wrong. I kind of had almost connections to my heroes and some of what I would consider Hollywood or the rock star stardom of fame and fortune, but especially being in the foundation with the Beat Poets, some of those people that influenced some of my heroes in the rock star stardom, like Patti Smith and Michael Stipe and them, were some of the beat poets like Allen Ginsberg and, Jack Kerouac and, Ann Waldman and stuff. And I know Ann Waldman does know Patti Smith. They've taken pictures together and stuff like that, and they do know Patti Smith. But I don't want to make a big deal like, it's just like a big thing, like it's, it's bad because they used to, they know each other. But um, I can never really truly be sure of Joseph Arthur's intentions. And I know that, in his mind, we have bad blood because of our misunderstanding or whatever happened between us. Where I won't lie. I mean, I kind of cursed him out. I kind of cursed him out and said some things to him that was a little more than just cursing him out. So, because I said a little more things that I could curse, a little more things that besides just cursing him out, there was a little bit of red flags there. And, people wanted to almost like, possibly arrest me at one point. But Joe was like, no, I mean, I know who you are. You're a good guy. I'm surprised that this has even happened. And, but I mean, he says I was a good guy. He says he appreciates my support for his music and art. And this happened over almost 15 to 20 years ago. But I mean, I've always supported him because he's always said I appreciate your support for my music and art, and I still appreciate him as an artist. But I kind of still had differences of opinion for the man, or felt some type of way about the man, or about when the man puts out a piece of artwork occasionally and the artwork is talking about different things, about different, it sounds like different things in different lightings that could be about me or could not be about me, or could be about certain situations and things that, can bring up red flags. Which artists can do that. Artists can make a song and they don't have to go into total detail, but they can still make it, sound, relatable enough to make you wonder, yeah, was that about me? Um, but we're not getting into the whole like I knew these people and I know that people scenario. The bottom line is that um, I was introduced to a lot of music during high school eras and stuff too that I was not supposed to be. I mean, I may have not, in a religious sense, may have not supposedly been should have been introduced to in a Christian household, at least to some conservative Christians. So some of my rock star connections and my rock star stardom and stuff is, or my star stuff like that. Um, I mean, certain things never got off the ground because certain fans and people ruined my situations before things could get off the ground. And that even happened with local artists here in Torrington too. That certain people like ruined stuff before it could get off the ground and stuff like that. So I never really got certain things to go really fully off the ground for me to really have a huge success flight and stuff. And so, except with the National Beat Poetry Foundation. The National Beat Poetry Foundation actually was the furthest I've gotten when it came to actually being successful at something and having something that was almost my own and having something that was almost very successful that was working for me, that people didn't screw up. People are going to say that I screwed it up because people were worried about my mental health, but people don't realize is that's where the drama was. People carrying on about my mental health and saying they're worried about my mental health. That's where the drama was. That's where the issue was, and that's where there seemed to be a lot of problems, because obviously somebody on my mental health workers end told me that the cops were called. The cops were fucking called. The cops were fucking called, and I was told I could not go. I wasn't told I could not go down to the arts, but I was basically, I basically kind of did not go. I kind of did not go down to certain things in the arts because, I was told the cops were called and stuff like that, and I didn't want to, create any more confrontations and stuff. So I want to go down and face certain people or go down to certain, stores or areas, but somebody wanted to create a big issue about my mental health and etc. And I was open to some people. The thing is, I was open to some people about my mental health. I was open to some people about my mental health struggles. And I don't know what gave people the right to think there was something wrong with my mental health, or to do what they did about my mental health, or and that much concern, and etc. Because if people really had a concern and stuff like that, then they should have came and actually dealt with me personally. But they never dealt with me personally. They just wanted to call the cops, or somebody said they wanted to call the cops, and the cops basically wanted to come to my door and kind of, the whole thing with that is too, for people who struggle with their mental health, you don't get too many choices. If they hear rumors that you're threatening somebody or something, you get two choices. You go to an emergency room for like 24 hours, possibly for 5 to 7 days, depending on how fucked up the emergency room is and how much the lies are spread. To the point you might get put on like a 7th floor ER, or you basically get to go to jail for 24 hours to 48 hours, however long, until they decide whether or not you're going to get charges pressed against you. So that's basically what I was dealt with. It's like I'm wondering whether I was going to a psych ward or ER, which is mentally stressful in general for anybody with a mental health problem. Nobody wants to feel like they have to go to an ER, especially when they're doing well and etc. And then the next thing you know, because I've had that happen. I've had that happen when I was doing well and stuff like that, and over simple arguments with like family members and etc. I would have like my family members like call the cops and say, "Oh, he was saying this and that about us, and he threatened us, or he said something out of line." And then the next thing you know, the cops didn't give me much of a choice to stay in my own apartment. They were gonna, forcefully take me out of my apartment to basically go to a psych ward or something, or go to jail. So. Because obviously they're saying I was threatening or something. People with mental health problems don't have many rights when it comes to certain things like that being crossed. And I think somebody knew that, and somebody wanted to create kind of a friction and an issue when it came to my mental health in the arts, which I didn't really like. And that's kind of why, in some cases I kept those things separately. At least I tried to keep those things separately. But my mental health was kind of being jeopardized in the arts and stuff, and that had to do with the critical race theory, and it had to do with a lot of the cultural stuff that um just wasn't good for me. It was not good for me. It was not good for my mental health. Liberalism is not good for my mental health. Being a liberal is not where my mental health is at. So, obviously I've kind of changed, my notion of sides, and, I'm now Republican. I'm now independently for Republicans. I was independently for, liberals, but I'm more independently for Republicans now. But there was this huge thing about my support in the arts, and how people wanted to claim that they wanted to feel safe, or feel like I wasn't being safe, or wasn't in a safe situation, and I wanted to just make sure I was in a safe situation. But the ways that they did it was all wrong, and it created a lot of boundary issues and things, to the point that I couldn't go back in the arts, and I could not go back and try to fix anything, because it was such a huge boundary issue and stuff for me, that I had to just cut it off and kind of keep my own peace of mind. Granted, there were some open mic nights and things that opened up and stuff that I was going to at the churches and stuff for a while. Despite all this stuff going on, and people saw me, and people saw me read and get up on stage and read, and people were still publishing me and stuff like that. But um, there came to be a lot of issues regarding my mental health, and issues around my mental health, and issues around the critical race theory, and me supporting certain artists that support critical race theory, and all the cultural stuff and stuff like that. And just me having a slight issue, even though I'm saying, "Oh, I'm trying to be professional about it," and etc. Although I may not agree and stuff like that, I'm trying to still be professional and show everybody respect and stuff like that. I just get told, "Well, we kind of support these people, and we kind of do, and I have no time for anything else. If you don't have time, if you want to be on on some bullshit, which they're calling my situation of me trying to be respectful, and state that I might not agree with everything, but I'm trying to be respectful, to kind of agree to disagree, to go forward professionally. And people are kind of saying that they don't agree, and they don't respect that, that they were the ones that kind of ruined the arts and stuff like that. They were the ones that kind of ruined the opportunities to go forward with certain people. I mean, they still could have gone forward with certain people. I mean, some of them kind of wanted to get rid of me because, certain people thought I was a liability and etc. or some type of issue because obviously I wasn't believing in, the cultural stuff and stuff like that. And, some people could see it all over my face. I know the cultural group people here in town, so I don't like them. I don't care for them. They've also gotten themselves into some personal issues and some personal dramas with some of the most personal people I've kind of had issues with, and in the black community, there were I mean, I've smiled next to certain people in the black community and stuff too, and I've had different issues and different personal issues kind of take away from certain things, but there were people that I've kind of had issues with that I never got to smile next to or etc. That when some of them didn't even really want to smile next to me, some of them just had so many issues with me and etc. that nothing really ever got shown that was like, oh, there was any positive moments between us because it was just already fucked from the beginning. And then those kind of people were kind of getting involved or kind of knew some people in the cultural group, and there were some dramas and things. There were some things about death threats about my life and, or on my life and etc. that, people were playing with, and people were trying to, people thought were a joke because obviously, I put myself in a situation that I really kind of regretted. And obviously I was psychotic and was going through a lot of my own, traumas and turmoils, but people want to play a lot of games and people want to play a lot of issues and things when it comes to my reputation and things and stuff. My reputation's basically been fucked, especially because of the liberals and shit, especially because the liberals have taken over the arts. And if you don't believe in Black Lives Matter, if you don't believe in the liberalism in the arts, then you can't really partake in the arts and be an artist. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with here in Connecticut, and that's kind of why I kind of made a comment recently about Connecticut, lighting up blue in the election for Kamala Harris. Like, it was no fucking surprise that Kamala Harris is going to be very well liked in fucking Connecticut, and all the liberalism bullshit is going to be, all over fucking Connecticut because, that's just how people feel, people feel that Kamala Harris is the way, um, but I really, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't supposed to listen to. I mean, I may have not been. I may have been. If I went on a different path, I may have not listened to secular music. I may have not listened to rock music. I may have listened to Christian music. I may have turned out a little bit differently, but I ended up with the state because my mother failed as a parent. My father failed as a parent. They both had their issues, and I've talked about it occasionally on my social media, even though I probably shouldn't air that stuff on social media. I've kind of talked about it on social media, on Facebook Lives and statuses and etc. Because I do, I'm trying to heal from a lot of childhood traumas and childhood wounds, and unfortunately, some of my childhood traumas and things I think also had to do with some people, that I was around when I was a child that happened to be, black. They happen to be black. So they happen to be like the neighborhood kids that was around when I was a child. And I happen to be, they happen to be black and stuff. And their mother was obviously doing drugs and stuff. And, my mother knew that, but yet she would let me hang out with the kids and try to, have the kids kind of try to hang out with me and stuff. Or at least that I would end up hanging with the kids because my mom, as I said in a previous thing, that my mother said I would undo the locks of the door of in Waterbury. I would undo the locks and be halfway down the street in the condo, like halfway down the street in Waterbury, out of the condo, and like halfway down the street and God knows where, etc. But and she would have to go look for me, and I would either be with the neighbors or I would be somewhere, etc. But that does not mean that something did not. That doesn't mean that something could have not happened to me. That doesn't mean that I don't really know because a lot of my childhood childhood back then has been blacked out, and I don't remember. I remember bits and pieces, but I don't remember everything as a child of what happened to me. I mean, my mom said there was trauma back then, especially with my father, but there was obviously there may have been trauma with the neighborhood kids and stuff too. There may have been some abuse or something. I don't know, but um the point being is that I ended up with the state because my parents couldn't take care of me, and over time it kind of reflected that my parents weren't doing properly by me. So DCF kind of took me and placed me in some different places. So I kind of did turn out to be a DCF kid, or I don't say foster kid, but a DCF kid, and somebody who obviously had to be placed in certain things, or certain programs, um but but the point being is my parents didn't really take care of me, so I wasn't raised. I mean, I wasn't raised probably as I probably should have been. At least to my mom's knowledge, I probably wasn't raised as how she thought I should have been. And she kind of blames herself because she doesn't always fully like the way I kind of turned out and etc. It just says like, who raised you? Like, who raised you? Were you raised this way? Or were you not raised this way? Did I raise you to be this way? And really, she's got to remind herself that she's not the one who really raised me. The state kind of raised me. I kind of had counselors and things within the state and within these state programs and in these state homes and things that were responsible for raising me and taking care of me because she was mentally sick and etc. and could not take care of me herself. But yeah, as an adult, my mother's still in the picture because my mother's never really let go. My mother's fought tooth and nail to still try to be in my life and still try to say certain things or do certain things when it comes to my well-being and stuff. And some of it actually I think is the abuse and the manipulation when it comes to what she says and what she says and what was actually said as about me and stuff, especially as a child, especially on my behalf. That some of it I think was manipulation and lies and things when it came to her mental health and the situation between me and my mom that was pretty much toxic. That she kind of said these lies and things just to keep herself in my life because she was afraid of losing me. And she should have lost me. She should have lost me. My father was out of the picture when I was 5, but my mother should have lost me also. But she held on tight, and she was like a single mother. She still is a single mother. I mean, she's had a couple of boyfriends and things. I had one. I had one person that she was with that basically was like a stepfather to me, but other than that, she's still a single mother. She's still single. She's still by herself. But if things turned out differently, I wouldn't have listened to secular music. I would have probably listened to Christian music. I would have had a different upbringing. But I mean, things happened the way that they did, and I obviously got involved with like REM in high school and Michael Stipe and all these other people that I thought were really great and really really great. Great rock people like Neil Young and stuff that started my whole journey into rock music and listening to a lot of music that was before my time, because I do listen to a lot of music that's actually was before I was born, like 1970. We're talking like 1960s, 1970s. There's like music I listened to from that era. I mean, I won't lie. I was born in '88. I was born in 1988. So I was an '80s baby. I wasn't a '90s baby. I was a late '80s baby. I was born in 1988. But I'm still listening to music before my time, like 1960s and 70s that were influential in the rock music and the rock years of like before I was born. So I listened to stuff in the 90s too. The 90s were very prevalent on me as a music holder too, of like when the 90s happened and stuff. I remember a lot of the 90s music and the rock bands and stuff I would listen to, or the pop songs and stuff. But because I was born in '88, so I still would have been growing up in the '90s and stuff. But music, secular music, and just it being very vulgar in some cases, or edgy and stuff, and how it's not really, how people don't view it as Christian and stuff. I probably wouldn't have probably wouldn't have had such a connection to it and etc. if I turned out differently. So I mean, that's one thing about Christian households is that some people make a decision. Some people get to make a decision, especially on their Christian path. Do I listen to secular music? Do I not listen to secular music? Do I listen to just Christian music, or do I break away from listening to just Christian music and listen to some music on the radio? So um, it's a big thing with the church and being a Christian, and and how the media portrays certain things and certain spiritualities and things and different things in their media that some people don't find very Christian and very very anti God. So um but I mean, I've listened to it. I mean, I've listened to Beyonce. I've listened to so much, secular music now that it's kind of taken a toll on my life, and I've kind of had ups and downs with different artists, either personally or just like listening to them for my enjoyment. Some of the artists I liked and some of the artists I didn't. Like I don't care for Beyonce. Everybody likes Beyonce. I don't care for Beyonce. I do like Destiny's Child, but I do not care for Beyonce's music, like as a solo artist. I don't like Beyonce. So but I'm just doing this video to pass the time at this point because I'm waiting for the election to kind of come through with these results, and I wanted to do a video about secular music because because at this point, and it was another Christian issue. It was another conservative Christian issue that kind of plagues households that I wasn't sure I should talk about. I know some Christians talk about it and they talk about it more in a Christian way, but um, I'm just talking about more how I turned out with it because I wasn't supposed to turn out the way that I did, but I mean then again everything happens for a reason. So that's kind of what I'm viewing about some of the artists, like the musical artists and stuff I was connected to or kind of had been connected to in the last 15, 20 years, but I'm kind of letting go of now because I said to myself, you cursed that person out for a reason. You wanted to tell them you wanted to kick their ass for a reason. So why are we still here trying to support them as an artist and etc. I mean, you at one point you felt like you deserved to kick their ass. Why would you why would you even continue to waste money on them and etc. I did it because I still thought they were a brilliant artist, but I mean obviously the person behind the art was where there were a lot of issues. So I don't know. My dinner's sitting here. I mean, I'm hungry, but I'm not hungry. I'm not really sure what I am. I don't know if I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I was laying down earlier just trying to get some rest, and my phone's kind of charging right now. Greg's probably calling me, wondering if I'm coming downstairs to the community room to see the election on TV because he wanted me to bring him a soda, but I'm trying to eat my lunch. And I told him I might be down, I might not, but I think I'm going to stay up here for tonight. Um, I have like $24. 20 I think $24. I think I have like $24 left but in my between my rent and my account. I mean I had like 70 something. I had 70 something at one point. Now I have like 24. So um it goes quick. It goes quick. I mean I spent 15. I spent 16 on one person. I spent 15 on another. When I got my first check, which didn't have to do with the last of the money, but I got my first check. I actually spent a good amount on another woman, and um, but yeah. So I don't know. I'm at the point now where I just gotta chill. My phone's gonna die, so I probably should get offline. But part of me was like, what do I do with the money? Do I go out to eat with the money? I mean, I'm going to have bottles and cans. I'm going to have to figure out what to do with the bottles and cans and how to cash them. But it's just a matter of what I can do with my money. And it's still too early to tell. It's going to be a long month. This November is going to be a long month. And at the end of it, we do got Thanksgiving and stuff. So I was able to pick up myself some tenderloins, some pork tenderloins that are probably about this big. I got two of them for Thanksgiving, and I got two of them for Christmas, and then I got instant mashed potatoes and stuff like that. But I still might want to get myself some food for the holidays. And I don't know if it's going to be Thanksgiving or I don't know if it's going to be, Christmas. But I do want to get myself some food from somewhere and get some food in the house for a couple of days so I don't have to cook and do something like that for myself. I told my mental health worker I'm alone for the holidays. Um, I was like, I was trying to do a lot, when I was going grocery shopping with him the other day. And I said to him, look, I'm alone for the holidays. I explained it to my mother and I'm explaining it to you too. It's like, I'm alone for the holidays and I want to do something, whether it's like I get a sandwich platter or something. I would like to be able to get some type of food so I can be able to enjoy myself because I'm alone for the holidays. I don't have any family or friends. My mother and I don't really get to see each other. She drops my stuff off during the summer for Christmas and stuff. She drops it off and then says I'll see you next year, etc. Although she is thinking of trying to come up here before Thanksgiving, but she did drop off my Christmas stuff, which is kind of put away somewhere. I do have Christmas stuff which I'm not touching. I touched the gift cards. I touched the gift cards, which was like $150 in gift cards. But I mean, I still have a lot more stuff she put aside that I haven't even touched that is kind of sitting somewhere safe until the holiday season. So, but I mean, besides just that, I mean, I'm gonna have some other things I'm gonna try to do to get myself some things I would want for the holidays and at the end of the year, like I normally do, and then maybe some food and some other stuff. So, but anyways, I gotta go. But that's just my thing on secular music. Maybe my life should have turned out differently. Maybe it should have been a little different or a little bit differently, molded, but it is what it is at this point, and we can't always choose our path. Sometimes life happens to us and it's in God's hands. So anyways, peace.